As you guys might know, a key strategy of the Zionist lobby is defamation. It is to basically say that everything is anti-Semitic, everyone is calling for the deaths of Jews, like being for Palestine is tantamount to genocide, and anyone who is pro-Palestine is genocidal and anti-Semitic.
I'm consuming.
And hates Jews for being Jews and all that sort of thing. Well, I have the pleasure of announcing to you the fact that one of these disgusting paid Zionist trolls is facing the music. He's going to have to justify all of these claims that he loves to make about other people. And we're going to have a legal test of this sort of disgusting, defamatory rhetoric from disgusting pro-genocide Zionists such as himself. So in Australia, there's this fella named Hasbara, and he's like an Arab guy who runs a burger chain named Burgatory. And he goes to pro-Palestine rallies and stuff. You know, obviously this is a guy with a fair bit of means, at least a couple $1 million to his name. And Drew Pavlou decided to completely mischaracterize his words that he said at a pro-Palestine rally. Drew posted this tweet right here saying that Hasbara spoke against the ceasefire, calling for a holy war to liberate every single inch of Palestine, and saying he's using child body bags as props because he's trying to mobilize people to violence against Jews. Drew himself quotes Hasbara's actual words in his tweet complaining about this, which were, if you're ever at a rally and you hear someone calling for a ceasefire, let them know the ceasefire was 6 months ago. We will not move an inch until the entire Palestine is liberated and free. So, nothing about a holy war, and certainly nothing about using child body bags as props to mobilize people to violence against Jews. So, quite the defamatory claim there. And Hashtag's lawyers obviously noticed this, and they sent him a notice of concern, which is in Australia is like what you have to do before you can actually file a defamation case. And they said that Drew falsely accused him of calling for a holy war, calling for violence against Jews, and inciting violence against Jews. And so now Drew is going to have to somehow justify that what he himself quoted here calls for violence against Jews and calls for a holy war, which is going to be pretty hard to do, pretty fucking difficult to do, given that simply wasn't said at all. This is someone who just does nothing but defame. He just makes shit up all the time. It's honestly shocking that it's taken this long for someone with the means to go after him to actually respond. This time he made the mistake of going after someone who actually has the money, to the point where like suing an idiot like Drew Pavlou really isn't a problem for them. And his characterization of this is like, he sent me an extortion threat demanding $23,000 for defaming him. No, this is an extortion threat. This is a proper legal letter, a notice of concern that explicitly says at the end of it that if they do not accept the terms of the offer to make amends, which, by the way, when you send this notice, you have to also include an offer to make amends to give them the option to avoid a trial. It's part of the law. So he's calling this an extortion threat. No, this is what they're supposed to do. This is actually the only way that you're allowed to start defamation proceedings in Australia, is by sending a letter like this first. And his lawyers have been instructed to commence action against him without any further notice to him if they do not receive an adequate response within 25 days. Meaning that they're going to take this to trial within 25 days if Drew does not respond. So basically, regardless of all these idiotic words that Drew writes here, my man is fucked. My man is in huge fucking trouble because he simply did not say that. And the way that like Drew tried to justify this is like really funny mental gymnastics. He can't actually point to what the guy said in the quote that he quoted. So he's just saying, Mr. Tayyeh has a terrible reputation in the Australian community. I have dozens of photos of him standing next to men at rallies wearing sweatshirts supporting the emblem of Hamas. So like, I guess he thinks the best argument that he can make is that he stood next to people wearing a shirt with a Hamas logo on it, which is not going to fly in court because he made a specific claim about what the guy said, not just that he was standing next to people with questionable t-shirts. He's a law student, by the way. And if you're a law student and you get fucked for defamation in court, it kind of puts your possibility to register as a lawyer into a bit of jeopardy as well. And I don't think he has very good chances here, regardless of what he always says. I have a King's Counsel barrister, because he thinks because he has a friend who's a lawyer, it makes him allowed to say whatever he wants. I have a King's Counsel barrister to represent me pro bono, and I can raise tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in crowdfunding to pay for solicitors. Now, I'm not exactly sure why he would need to raise money in crowdfunding if he has a pro bono King's Counsel, amazing barrister ready to represent him. It sounds like perhaps this claim to have a King's Counsel barrister ready to represent him pro bono is not exactly true and just being used as like an intimidation tactic. Because otherwise, why would you need money to defend yourself? Because it's free. His defense is free. I am not backing down. I suggest that you go in your quiet and not waste the money on a pointless and frivolous case. Here's the thing though, Drew. You went after someone with the typical Zionist lie strategy in a country with actual real defamation laws, for one, and who has the fuck off money to where whatever costs they incur on proceeding with this case and taking it all the way, even if they lose, won't really matter much to them. So you fucked up on two fronts there. You're supposed to only go after people who probably can't actually retaliate against you legally when you make shit up about them. In this case, you really fucked up. And there's really not much that you can do here aside from like go to court and get absolutely and totally fucked and financially destroyed, which is more than likely what's going to happen. So yeah, you can pay his very generous offer to make amends, or you can just get fucked in court. Either way, this sets a really good precedent for the typical Zionist defamers, and I really hope that Hashtayeh takes this through to the end. Just does not have any mercy on this piece of shit and gives him what he deserves, so that anyone else who thinks about making these sorts of defamatory claims against people who are against genocide, any of these disgusting pro-genocide supporters like Drew Pavlou, get their comeuppance and get scared into shutting the fuck up. I really, really hope he does. For everyone. Not just because Drew's a piece of shit and because what he said is false, but because of what this case could mean for destroying Zionist propagandists in any country with like decent defamation laws.